we are here at the Hunted world premiere in Prague, and I'm so happy to do this interview with you because I remember when we first met, you also played not Arakni, but another assassin called Uzuri.
Right. It's way back in the days. It's like nearly 2 years now.
Yeah.
Over.
It was Calling Antwerp.
Antwerp, first met, yeah.
Yeah. And you played against Pablo Pinto in the finals of that Calling in CC.
Yeah.
And you have a really like an affinity, as it called in English, for the assassin class, right? Do you like that?
I like it. In general, I always like Dagger archetypes, like fast and sneaky.
Yeah.
And I play like a role-playing game. That's like a class I'm drawn to, next to some maybe archers or something. So I play a lot of assassins. Yeah, we'll see how the new one is.
Yeah.
I'm happy to try it a lot.
So for the ones watching that don't know you, please introduce yourself. Like, what is your name and what kind of games did you play before?
Okay. I'm Sebastian. I've been playing trading card games for probably 30 years now. Started as a little child, played Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and then most of my time I actually played some minor or more not so popular ones like Star Wars from DCI or Legend of the Five Rings, Lord of the Rings, the second one. I've played like probably 50 different ones. I try every new one. Like for example, Alta is a pretty new one. I played a bit and liked quite a bit as well. Yeah, just like every card game, basically.
And what was your biggest accomplishment so far?
Yeah, you already said so. Unfortunately, my biggest accomplishment in Flesh and Blood is losing to Pablo in finals. In second place Calling. And then I had some Calling top 32, ProQuest wins. Worlds in Barcelona I made 65th, which is the bubble boy.
Yeah.
The worst place possible. Yeah. I've been around, up and down. Sometimes you find me at the top tables, sometimes you find me at the bottom.
But for this event, we found you at day 2, and you played a very interesting hero that I, myself, didn't really face the whole weekend. And of course it's Arakni. So what really do you think about Arakni for the Hunted?
Yeah, obviously it's my favorite. So when I played the world premiere, I just built Arakni. I didn't even look at the other heroes. And I was surprised how difficult and different it is to the normal assassin, because you have a lot of new interactions that aren't immediately obvious, and you need to just play some games to get in the flow of it. It's just different. And it was very hard to play it optimally, and that's maybe why so many people defaulted to like Fang or Syndra, which are a little bit more straightforward. Also not that easy to play, but you don't really need to acquire like any new skills, because the interactions are similar to what has been there before. But for Assassin, even though I played every Assassin for the entire time of its existence, this one is different. It was fun, very fun. And I make many mistakes over the whole weekend.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of them.
A lot.
Yeah.
So will we? Okay.
So
Sure.
tell us like how the weekend went for you. We played the Calling and yesterday. How did it go for you, the day one?
Day one, yeah, I lost round 1 because I made a mistake. I was unfamiliar with the cards. I mistook one for another. It was an action instead of a defense reaction, so I didn't block and unfortunately died to that attack. But it happens. You need to get to know the new cards and stuff. It was stupid, but it happens. Then, so I lost round 1, then I lost round 4 as well, but I finished 6-2, so I made day 2. Played mostly Fang mirrors actually, because in the Calling my Arakni pool was unplayable.
Okay.
So I had a decision between Fang and Syndra, and people were talking about how straightforward and good Fang is, so I tried it. Yeah. And then today we played top 2 drafts, and I ended up drafting Arakni both of the times. I had a lot of fun, I drafted basically 2-1 to 1. Could have easily been like 3-0 to 1 or something like that, or even 2-2. Yeah. You win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
I had decent enough decks, I think. It was a lot of fun. My opponents were all nice.
Yeah.
Great weekend overall.
So we will talk about Arakni in a little bit more detail. What is really the strengths of that hero Arakni when you want to play him in sealed and draft?
Yeah, the strength is assassin, so it's very hard to know for the opponent what exactly you're doing, how he's supposed to block, how your turn will look, and yeah, just make the opponent do difficult decisions. That's like all the reaction, because assassin as a class has a lot of reactions that happen after blocking, so the opponent needs to basically know what cards there exist, what you could have in that spot, and how to maybe probably block and counteract your schemes.
Yeah.
So that's basically like a mind games. There's a lot of mind games with Arakni. Sometimes you force them to block even though you didn't have anything, and they lose that way. Sometimes they don't block and you have it at all. And yeah, it's a lot of back and forth between the minds of the players and not only the cards.
Yeah.
That's why I like assassin.
And so what makes like the core strategy of Arakni for him to win the games?
I think there's basically like two styles of Arakni. There's one that is more aggro, and one that is a lot more Dagger focused and can fatigue people and stuff. So one uses more blues and one uses more reds, and some cards are different in each of them. I think that's are the two styles that I played and they've worked so far. Maybe there's more, maybe one will not work in the future. For now, it seems like to me there's one aggro plan you can do, and one more defensive, slow grind Dagger kind of deck.
Yeah. So the daggers are very important. Maybe you can start talking about what the daggers are actually doing.
Like we play as Arakni and we start with Mark of the Huntsman. And like every assassin dagger, it costs 2 to attack for 1 power with a go again. So the important part is now it has 2 different abilities basically. The first part is it interacts with the marked mechanic, the main theme of this set. When you hit with a dagger, you can sacrifice it or destroy it to mark the enemy hero. And marking in itself doesn't do anything, but all your cards interact with it. For example, your real ability gives all stealth cards that attack marked targets +1, and on hit they can go out. And the second part is also pretty important, because if the opponent is already marked, the dagger attacks for 2 power. And that's basically twice as much, and that's unheard of for an assassin weapon to attack for 2 power for 2 resources, which is very good rate, because you're not losing cards and attacking with 2 power for a card, very good rate. So 2 modes basically. Some decks use it just for the marking part, and some decks just use it for a lot for attacking for 2, making the opponent block with cards and then running them out of cards. Yeah, that's the dagger for you. Any question or?
I think there is a second dagger. What kind of role does that second dagger play in limited and draft?
Yeah, we have also a token dagger, but because obviously if you use the first ability of the old dagger, you will destroy it, and then you have an empty slot for your weapon. And there are some cards, for example, Obweavers, that interact with these daggers. And they equip, if you have an empty slot, you can equip one of these new daggers. And that's just like an upside. You get a new dagger that attacks for 1, and then, for example, it's important because 2 + 1 is 3, which is a blue. So, and often if you grind to the end game, it has a very good lock, because you can hit the 2 and for 1 with 1 card, and the opponent needs to block both if they're at 1. But this is not like that central. You can have decks where you never equip this one if you don't get lucky and use the other mechanic of the core heroes, that sometimes he just flips in the random agent of chaos, and there's one that interacts with these daggers. But it's not guaranteed that you see this in your game. So sometimes you just won't have this dagger. So it's more important to understand what this dagger does. And sometimes you get this, and it's just a nice thing to have, which can do some stuff. But it's not, I wouldn't really say it's like a core of the hero. You have some cards, mostly rare also, so very hard to get. But if you get them, they're all good, because over the course of the game you will destroy your daggers and then get a new one. That's very nice. But nothing special. It's just a nice little dagger.
And besides the Orb Weaver, what are the other two of the better transformations that you can do with Arakni?
So in general, we will talk about it later. I think transforming is actually not as good as you would think it is. But of course, there's, for example, one that's very good in some spots. If you flip into Trapdoor, you get an extra card. If you have traps left in your deck, you can tutor for a trap, then you can play it next turn.
Yeah.
And the traps, we will see later, are essential to the game plan and also very good because one of the other heroes, Arakni itself, and Fang react a lot in reaction speed, and you need to be able to counteract that with defense reactions. So defense react are good in general, and you get an extra one if you flip in this one. And then I would say maybe the most universal one is also like if you roll a 1, you get Black Widow, and all but the Trapdoor agent have an ability where they can discard a card from your hand, an assassin card from your hand, to give an attack +3. And this one in particular says if you target a stealth card with it, it gets on hit, they banish a card from hand. And that's always good. For example, there's one for the arsenal, but what if the opponent doesn't have an arsenal? But they always have a hand.
Yeah.
So that's universally good. Trapdoor is universally good. Orb Weaver is obviously good if you have an empty weapon slot. Yeah, but you can never guarantee which one you get. So you need to ride the flow.
Yeah. So then when we are talking about the deck in more detail, what are cards that you are looking for when building in Limited for the Hunted, when you want to play Arakni, or maybe you don't know if he's really good? Like, what cards are you looking at?
Sure. Of course, the new assassins all interact with the stealth keyword, so we need our stealth cards. And I would say the two essential ones and best ones are these two. You have Mark of the Black Widow, which is like the signature card of this agent. It has the same effect. If the opponent is marked, if you hit the opponent, he needs to banish a card from the hand. And important is, if we are marked, our Arakni says it gets +1 power. So it attacks for 4, which is very hard to block with a very good on hit. So it's really hard to block efficiently, and if you do it like multiple times, you will just win. Yeah. And he grinds the opponent down because he needs to block with 2 cards, and you can fatigue them or whatever. And the other one I find really good is this one, because this one enables like more of the aggressive strategy, because actually it doesn't not only give +1, it says also on hit you can go again. So the opponent is marked, you attack for 4, on hit, go again. And normally you would lose the mark on hit, and your next attack, if it for example is then this, would only attack for 3. But with this you immediately remark again, and then you can play another 0 for 4 attack that's really hard to block again, and has an effect because it's already marked. So this is like enables gold white turns. So I think these are the best tools and the essential ones. If you don't have any of these, then maybe it's time to look at the other heroes for your seal deck. Yeah.
What other cards are you looking for? Like, are there some bombs that are important?
No, we have a lot of other card types. Like Assassin, obviously, we play with reactions, so we need some reactions. For example, this one is universally good. It's just raise with edge. We can target a stealth attack and gets +3. Cost 0, block 3. So we want some of these.
Yep. And this one is only in the red version in the set, right?
Yeah, only in the red. This one as well only exists in red. And it's also a very good card if you play more the Dagger style. The thing is, if you play the aggro style, you have a lot of red cards, so you don't really have much blues, and so you don't really want to pitch a lot. So paying 1 for something is very awkward. That's why sometimes it's not that good, but it's a very good card nonetheless, and especially the Dagger, because you attack with a Dagger for 2, and then you have 1 floating, which pays for this. And this is also very essential because it's very universal. You can pump your Dagger for 3, or your stealth attacks for 3, and it even says on hit they can mark their enemy hero. And marking is like the most important for Arakni. He gets the most value from marking enemies in this set. Like the others, Syndra sure they can mark, but it's not essential. Fang it's a little bit more, but also not really. But for Arakni, if you don't mark the opponent, you basically do nothing.
Yeah.
So this is a very good card. So you have attacks, reactions obviously, and then you want, in this format especially, defense reacts are also very good. And the best one would probably be this one, because it's just a defense react that can block for 3, a trap, which you can maybe tutor if you flip into trapdoor. And it says when you defend an attack with go again, mark the opponent hero, and marking is very important, so this is a very good card. You also see it's like Assassin Ninja dual card. You can play it in Ninja, but it's not really that essential Ninja, because Ninja wants to attack, so defense reactions are really their game plan. So in Sealed, yeah, you need to open them, but for example in Draft, you might see them more often if you play Assassin compared to Ninja.
Yeah.
Well, you pick them higher if you play Assassin compared to Ninja.
Yeah.
Defense reacts are very important. Yeah. Then we talked about marking is very important. There's generic cards that mark. This one is decent enough, especially if you're in Dagger build, because it's again Dagger for 2. You have 1 floating, you can use it for discard, and it just pumps your next attack for 3 and marks the opponent. Easy enough. Yeah, it's a 2 block, so don't draft too many in other colors than red, or don't play too many. But in Arakni you need some mass of mark cards, and this is a very decent one that you can have in your pool.
So I think cards that maybe are in your pool and you're looking at and they don't seem as strong in the first looks. Are there any cards that come to your mind that you maybe want to show?
Yeah. So this one in particular grew on me lately in the draft 2, mostly because I played a very blue heavy Dagger build. It's picked up the point. It's just a 0 cost 3 go again attack, so it's already decent. Yeah. It only blocks 2, but you can always attack for 3 in any hand because it go again on itself, so it's very flexible and usable. But the important part is that when you attack with this, you are able to pay 1 if you want to and retrieve a dagger from your graveyard. And as we know, we talked about, we throw our daggers and then they go to the graveyard. Important to know is if you somehow equip this dagger, if you throw this dagger, for example, there's an equipment that can throw daggers or something like this. This is a token that ceases to exist, so it's not in your graveyard. So you can basically only return, Arakni can only return its main dagger mark of the Huntsman. And again, it's 2 plus 1, it's the blue, so it also fits really nice in the curve. And you can even arsenal it because it works with every hand and just wait for the turn they have 1 resource left, so you can re-equip your dagger and then you can mark them again.
Yeah.
So this is also a very good card that expressed me quite a lot, actually, which I didn't immediately think it's that good. Also, for example, like some draft thing, it's not that good in Syndra. They can play it, but it's way better in Assassin, I think, because retrieving a marked Huntsman is more important than retrieving like a kunai, not the name, but the hero ability of Syndra can already retrieve their daggers, so it's redundant a little bit. So you should table a lot more in draft, and you can pick up a few of these. Yeah. Also, mostly in red, yeah, because 2 blocks you don't really want in blue. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of cards that have some fringe interactions that you sure can pick up and play. For example, this. It's just a 3 power stealth attack, nothing fancy, no on hits or something, but you need some stealth attack. So sometimes you don't have like 5 Mark of the Black Widows. So you need to play some other cards. And this is just here for 3. And not every other game is probably too often, but sometimes you can use this effect. You can discard this card from your hand to mark your opponents. And it's important to know it's instant speed, so even if the opponent is not yet marked, if you're attacking with some attack for 3 and they only block 3 and you have this in your hand, you can in real action step discard it, mark them, and then this attack gets to 4 power and now it's hitting again and has it on hit. But keep in mind, it's a very hefty cost to discard something, so it's not the usual play pattern or not something you should look for, but be aware of it, that you can do it. We talked about throwing daggers, for example. Like how do you get that they don't get the graveyard? There's, for example, another stealth attack, and it's just says when you attack a hero, you can sacrifice one of your daggers to deal 1 damage to your opponent. And it says, important to know is like if damage is dealt this way, the dagger has hit. So for example, if you use it to throw your Mark of the Huntsman, it will trigger its on hit effect and mark the opponent. Which means this card immediately attacks for 4, on hit, go again. So it's also decent in the go wide strategies. But it's just a decent card. If you have it, you play it. Then it's important obviously to have blues in every deck. And Assassin usually has a luxury problem because every blue card blocks 3, while in some other heroes not every card blocks 3, so usually you want to be able to play only block 3 cards. Sure, there's some exceptions maybe, but you should look for playing blue cards that block 3, and the exact number of blue cards that you include in your deck I haven't really figured out. I would say like it felt good for me, like 10, 11-ish, maybe in the Dagger build, and in the Akko build you go down to like 5, 6. You can, how many you have, or how many cards you need to fill your deck with still. I think that was like most of the basic stuff that you need to know how to build and play an Arakni deck. I mean, we can look at some of these rares that maybe you open and are pretty powerful. For example, this one, I'm actually not that sure if it's really that good. It's obviously a good card, but maybe I thought it was stronger than it actually is. So it says it's an attack reaction, like we need attack reactions, block 3, like every card in Assassin, and it says target attack with stealth gets +3. Important to know is it does not say target attack with stealth, target attack card with stealth. So if you somehow are able to equip this graphite, graphene dagger, this is a dagger that has stealth, so you can target your dagger as well. The thing is, it says if the hero is marked, is for 3. That's obviously a very good effect. But the target attack with stealth gets +3 and go again. The and go again part is kinda not very relevant, because if you look at this dagger, it says if the opponent is marked, you already have go. Yeah, of course. You can still play it if your opponent is not marked, and sometimes, but usually you want to attack with a stealth card when your opponent is marked and you don't want to pay 1, and then you already have go again on hit, maybe from Arakni or something. So the go again part is less relevant than you might think. Or at least to me it seems like very rare case that it's just a good card to give +3, but I would say like probably the Razor's Edge isn't usually just equally good or better. Yeah, it cannot target the dagger, but you also don't always equip the dagger, and it's very, the upside is like very, won't happen that often. So the downside that maybe the opponent is not marked and you need to pay 1 can be more limiting then the upside may be able to target some Dagger or get go again. If the opponent, for example, you attack for 3 and they block for 9 for some reason, then you can still get go again, because with the hero ability you obviously can't, because you need to hit.
Yeah.
And yeah. So if you don't have any more questions, I think that's like the basic idea of how an Arakni deck should look like, what cards you need, what styles you could play, what's important. So maybe, yeah, without thinking like long about it, I don't know what else to like tell you now.
Yeah. So for pre-release in general, I think one question that I have is like, should you really go for Arakni if you have never played him and just try him out, or is it more safe to, like you said, just go with the flow and play like what is a little bit more in general common to see?
I mean, in my opinion, a pre-release is about fun.
Yeah.
So if you like playing Arakni, then just play it.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, it's maybe more difficult than the other heroes, and you might make more mistakes. But if you like that, then just do it. Yeah, even if maybe the other deck is a little bit better, then you lose more games, but at least you have more fun maybe playing. If winning is all your fun, which usually at the pre-release from I think any person I know isn't. Yeah, then you need to choose maybe the other hero because the pool looks better for that hero. Yeah, I don't think we have a consensus how strong the heroes are in relation to each other yet. We played way too little. Everyone, like for example, in this calling Pablo 8-0, they won with Arakni in sealed. Yeah, and obviously people in draft are 3-0ing with Arakni, Syndra, and Fang, so we don't really know. They all seem strong to me. It's not some Auxilio kind of thing. Maybe you could argue that last set Auxilio was very weak, and yeah, you shouldn't really play him that much, but in this set everyone seems decent strong enough, so just play what you want and have fun.
Yeah, perfect. Sebastian, thank you so much for the insights and coming here on my channel.
I wish you all very much fun next week. I will have to too.
Thanks, man.